Doing it. All right. So this is business 483 with the Yieldex case. We have had a prayer. And I guess I can say a quick spiritual thought. So I was reading in Genesis with my religion class, and we were talking about not really the fall of Cain. I guess that's not correct, but when Cain made the decision to kill his brother and to offer the Lord a sacrifice of fruit and vegetables. And I've always thought that's interesting that the Lord condemned Cain even though he still offered him something. But it makes me realize the importance of not using our own opinions and our own ideas to fulfill God's word. God asks for things to be done in a specific way. And that's really the blessing of the restored gospel, because we know how the Lord wants us to do it. It's not always just about the heart, you know. Cain was still giving, and I don't know where his heart was. It probably wasn't in the best place. But even though he still gave a sacrifice, it wasn't what the Lord had asked for. So there's a great importance to understand the true will of the Lord, which we get through the revelations and through prophets. So I'm just grateful for that knowledge that we know exactly how to make our way back to our Heavenly Father. So.
Yeah, and on that topic, it's important to always remember, because I like to fall into that trap, measuring my sacrifice against what other people are sacrificing.
Yeah.
Whether I'm higher or lower, that doesn't really work in Heavenly Father's eyes. We need to focus on what a sacrifice means to us in relationship to Him, not in relationship to others. And I think that's where Cain made a big mistake.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks for that, Herb.
No, thanks for your thought.
You are welcome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead. Let me pull up the discussion assignment so we can go ahead and get into it. Let's see, so it asks us to first vote yes or no on accepting the offer for $2 million cash and $2 million of preferred stock. So who wants to go first with their?
Brian goes on this, I guess. I think he should accept the offer. And should we all vote and then give our reasons, or do you want us to give our reasons?
Let's vote and then give our reasons.
Okay.
You said to not give reasons?
What was that?
You said to not give reasons?
Yeah, just vote and then we'll discuss.
Okay. I say he should continue with the financing.
So, okay. I originally thought that I wanted him to continue with the financing, but after further study, I went with Austin, and I think he should take the deal. So I guess since I went last, I'll just go ahead and give my reasoning. And like, there's not one right or wrong answer. So this is just what I thought, and my calculations could be off because I had to make a lot of assumptions to fill this out. But I put that he had to sell, if he continued to dilute his share price or his share in the company, he's going to have to sell each round. He's going to have to sell the company for more and more to make back that same amount of money. And I fear that because right now I don't feel that they have a solid product out. They have more of an idea. And I'm afraid that when they actually get it out there, people will see it, and other companies will come in with competition. So I kind of feel that he would be in the best case to take the money because he hasn't really invested much. He doesn't have a lot to lose. And after he pays off his investors, he still gets a fairly large amount of money. That was my reasoning. You want to go next, Austin?
Yeah. So I'll just kind of start with scenario. Obviously, you would have to pay out the angel investors, right? So kind of the money in total that he got from so there's the $2 million cash and then the $2 million preferred stock. So he would keep I got 2,900,000 of that. And I'm sure we'll discuss what everybody got for that. But I think that's a really good deal, especially for the amount of work that he put into it. You know, he really did a lot of work with figuring it out, but he hasn't really started a great company yet. You know, there's still a lot of work, which is why they're thinking of bringing that CEO that was experienced in there. Reason I think that it's looking like he's going to have to do like a 50-50, which from his research is just not a very good deal, because usually the new CEO gets like 10, right?
Right.
So I think it's just going to be worse for him in the long run. You know, he's going to first have to share it with that new CEO, and then he's going to have to dilute it with each round. And I just think it would be better for him to cash out now and have that security, because that's kind of his personality too. He doesn't really like to manage. He doesn't like to do that, but that's what I think.
Awesome. What about you, Herb?
Well, my thought was, I don't think that Shields would continue if Cosman took that offer, unless I missed it somewhere. So I think Shields wanted to join because he wanted to build a company. So I thought that, you know, taking this offer would take Shields off the table. Cosman would pretty much lose, quote unquote, his company, and turn, you know, give it over to somebody else who would have complete control over it. So that was I didn't really have a rational thinking behind it. Anyways, that was fun.
Yeah, that sounds good. So yeah, I had a hard time deciding, because as I mentioned in the case study, similar things have sold for 300 million after it's been developed.
Right.
So he could either take the money now and get a fairly large amount of money, nothing that's going to make him rich the rest of his life, but I mean, there's no risk in it, or he can stick with it a little longer and possibly make a lot of money. But as kind of like Austin was saying, each round he gets diluted more and more. So in the end, he's going to have to sell it for quite a bit more to make it up. Yeah, I can see merit in both ways. So let's see. The next question is, how much money will Doug receive if he accepts the offer? So you said, Austin, what was it you said?
2.9 million.
2.9 million. What did you have, Herb?
Actually, I didn't even know we were supposed to calculate that.
Oh, no worries then. I got that he would have 1.4 million in cash and then 500,000 in preferred stock. So let's discuss our rationale behind it. Do you want to go first, Austin?
Yeah. So, and I just kind of combined it into two. So what I had for the cash was 1.4 million in cash, and then I had 1.5 million in preferred stock that I could just combine those. So starting with the cash, so they would have to double their investment of cash and give that back to them. They invested $300,000, so double that is $600,000. Subtract $600,000 from 2 million is 1.4 million. And then on the preferred stock, you guys will have to forgive me. I'm kind of under the weather today.
No, sorry to hear that.
No, it's no problem. So, and then with the preferred stock, they get 25% of the proceeds from their preferred shares. And so I had that as $500,000 as 25% of the 2 million. Then that's obviously not, I didn't put in there if they were to exercise those other options that they had in there, such as buying more. It's kind of the basic without any other options enabled by them. That's what I got.
Okay, and your total number was 2.9 million.
For the both preferred stock and the cash, yeah.
Okay, because I got the same numbers for the cash that I got, that he would get 1.4 million because The investors would double their money, which is, like he said, 600,000. But then 25% of the $2 million in preferred stock at $500,000. And when I add those up, I only get 1.9 million. So let's see.
I got that they would get 25%. So since the investors get 25%, or they get 500,000, he would keep the rest of the 1.5 million.
Oh, I took it to read that each of the investors took 25%. Let me go back to the case, because that's where
that would be wild. Well, let me see.
Yeah, I'm going back and I'll see what we can find. It doesn't really say. It just says
I'm just seeing here.
Well, let's see. Yeah, I don't know. It could go either way.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's talking about each individually gets 25% or they get 25% split amongst them. So that would definitely change it. What do you think? You think it's 25% per investor or 25% split amongst them? You there, Herb?
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. Did you hear the question?
No.
So Austin and I were going back and forth. It says in the case, it says if Yieldex was sold for equity, the angel investors would receive approximately 25% of the shares in the new company. And I took it to mean that each investor would get 25% of the shares. And Austin took it that the 25% would get split amongst the three investors. Which way do you think it should go based off of
I mean, now that I read over the question, I would agree with Austin that that's amongst the investors.
Amongst the investors as a whole. Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Then we'll go with that because that makes sense to me. Because that's what I was looking at. I was like, wow, they sure get quite a bit of that stock. He gets not much for being the founder. So that makes more sense for me. So yeah, I agree with the $2.9 million evaluation then. All right. So the next question gets into Shields and how much equity he deserves. So the first question is, how much equity does Shield deserve? Does he deserve to be a co-owner or co-founder, or what do you guys think?
I don't think he deserves 50% of the shares and be have equal rights to whatever they sell it for or whatever money they raise. Now the co-founder, I think he should, because it's still more in the prototype stage. I mean, they have the patent, but it's really not been pushed yet. They haven't really closed any sales. It's still more of in the concept stage. So I think, I mean, I can see how it's Cosman's baby and he's put all the effort in it and he's the one who put that all together. But I think it's going to take some effort to get Shields to give up his venture capital job and completely dedicate himself to Yieldex and give it his all. So I think at that level he has to give him the title. I'm just not sure if he really is required to give him 50% of the shares.
Yeah, that's kind of the approach I took, because in reality, Cosman can't do it without Shields. And it's not like Shields is just coming in and running a company that's already built. He has to do quite a bit of the work.
Absolutely.
And like you said, he has a lot of risk because he has a good job that he's leaving to do it. So I agree that he should be considered a co-founder. And as far as equity, I thought he should have more than the typical 10%, but definitely not 50%. I thought somewhere around maybe 25% equity. What about you, Austin?
Yeah, I was thinking around just because, just the same reasons as you guys have been discussing. He does have to kind of build the actual company up. He has the bare idea of it, and they have the patents and that type of thing. But he does have to do a significant amount of work. So I think that's pretty fair to give him. It's not 10%. It's not 50 because I don't think he's on equal grounds. But I feel like it's a fair amount.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. So the next question is, why does Washing want Doug to reject the turn offer? And now I'm forgetting who Washing was. Wasn't he the venture capitalist that wanted to get in on it, but went in on a personal level and not with the firm? That Washing, I can't remember which one Washing is.
Like the original, yeah.
Right. So that's the question is, why does Washington want Doug to reject the turn offer? Well,
He was hoping for more money.
Yeah.
He was hoping to take his investment to another level, and that's why I kind of lean towards them going for the Series A funding. I mean, what did you guys calculate? 2.6 million.
2.9.
2.9. So that's a good big chunk of change. But if you have something that is so vital to this, I mean, completely new way of doing business, and you have this important tool that could help companies to really manage their capacity. And then I've read up a little bit on Yieldex, and they're going so much further than what Google AdWords does. I think Cosman really is onto something. So that's why I lean towards the Series A funding and just let it go wherever it's going to go.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think part of it, because he was the one that works at a venture capitalist firm, but he didn't feel like the company was ready for venture capitalists, so he went with more of the angel side. But I feel like he wants to grow the company to where the venture capitalist firm can eventually invest in it as well. So if he gives up now, then that's just out of the question. I think that's another reason that Washington doesn't want him to take the deal. He'll get 200% of his original investment, or he could make a lot more if they continue. So it makes sense for him to want to continue with the company and not take the offer.
It's potentially sees the big money that could come out of it. But I do think it's thinking on Doug's behalf. He's just kind of thinking on his personal level, because he does get that 200% increase if it gets bought out. But it's like hundreds of millions if the company just keeps growing with that Series A investment.
Right. I agree. The next question is, how much does Washing give up if Cosman gives Shields 50% of the equity? That's an interesting question, because at this point, Washing doesn't own any stock. He just has the convertible debt, correct?
Yeah.
Right, in the 25% discount.
Yeah, and then his initial investment grows at an 8% rate until the Angel A or the Series A funding, so it'll grow a little more. I don't really know what he loses if he gives up 50%, other than there'll be more dilution in the stocks when he finally gets his shares. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I was thinking
In this
along those
quote,
lines.
I don't see any mention of what his financial commitment was in this deal.
Yeah, and in the exhibits, it said something like, because they didn't right out say that he was one of the angel investors that gave $100,000. And in one of the exhibits, let's see, it's exhibit 4. I was confused about, there's a $65,800 number on there, and I have no idea where that comes from. I understand the 156,000 because they could raise it up to that point, so those three make sense. Do you know where that 65,000 came from, Austin?
Which exhibit are you looking at?
Exhibit 4.
4. Okay. I don't know. Maybe
I
one of
could not find it in the case. What it was.
one of the others might have bought. I don't know. Maybe they're selling. They could have sold a little bit of
I'm not
it.
sure where that's coming from.
Yeah,
Because
they can't sell it before it converts, right?
no, I don't think so. Or maybe they can. I'm not sure. Then it says here that
Well, maybe it's just that Angel A decided not to go full bore and take advantage of his full, because that's the additional money, right?
well, I'm not sure. I'm confused because he said at the seed round they raised 300,000, and in the exhibit it's saying 535,000. So I'm just not sure where. I understand the increase of a little bit on these 156,000 ones, but I mean that's not important. I was thinking that was showing us Washington's contribution, which it looks like it was 156,000. So at this point, it looks like Washington's put in 156,000, and that'll convert to not a whole lot of stock, but
Yeah.
I
think he's just worried about. Yeah, I think not he's worried about. I think he'll just give up more actual stock, because it'll be diluted.
yeah, that's what I think is his biggest concern. So yeah, I don't know. It says how much does Washington give up, and I don't know that there's an exact number because from what we have now, I mean, he doesn't own stock yet, so.
And Austin, you're in bad shape.
Yeah,
I'll hopefully be over it by tomorrow or something.
hopefully it doesn't last too long.
Yeah.
All right. The next question is: can Doug use the turn offer to his advantage if he rejects it?
I totally think that he can. I think whenever it's kind of like if you have two people trying to employ you, say you have one offer for 100, one offer for 110,000, right? And you could say to the first guy, this guy offered me 110, so what can you do? So I think kind of in a similar way, he could use that to either with Shields to negotiate less for his equity or something. He could try and negotiate something with that.
Yeah, I agree that he could use it to leverage, because I mean that looks good. Someone's already basically put a value of $4 million on his company, and at this point, it's not really a company; it's more of an idea that hasn't really completely come to fruition yet. So he can use that to say, to investors, future investors, there's a lot of value in this. I've already got a $4 million offer just for the idea. So I think he could leverage it, just like you said, Austin, to try and get more out of people.
Yeah, but don't you kind of think that at this stage, 4 million is kind of chump change?
Yeah.
I mean, when you compare it to these other companies that have sold for hundreds of millions of dollars, basically to me, it kind of feels that they're cutting him off at the knees, before it even really gets any traction, they're already buying them out at $4 million, and then, you know, whatever valuation it takes from there is all going to go towards turn. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. That really is. And if they're right, like they say in the case, that it could be worth upwards of 300 million later, then yeah,
Yep.
$4 million is nothing.
But that's kind of where I made a mistake. I didn't scroll down far enough in the exhibits, because that's kind of where I struggled in the preparation. Because in the preparation, it didn't tell you how many shares Cosman issued himself at the founding stage. So then I kind of played around with the numbers to show, to figure out how Cosman and however many shares he would give to Shields or his employees, how many shares would he have to issue himself initially to still hold on to over 50% with the Series C funding.
Right.
So I'm sorry, I just changed them back with the exhibit. So if he issues himself 17 million shares, 344,000 shares, he still holds on to a 51% share at a Series C funding, and that would put him, or would put those shares that he issued himself and the company initially at $26 million, and the shareholders would have a value of, I didn't put that down, I didn't put that 4 million, but it will be somewhere around 20 million, 24 million. I know, I guess I just...
Well, yeah, that's what's hard, is there's so many assumptions. I did a lot of calculations, but there are so many assumptions, and when I calculated it, that I don't know.
So the way you read this Exhibit 4, does that mean that Doug Cosman, the initial number of shares he had were those 9.9 or almost 10 million shares?
Were you combining the, let's see, Tom Shields and Cosman's? Yeah, it'd be around.
Right? So
Yeah.
Doug Cosman issued himself short of 10 million shares to begin with. Then he gives Tom Shields... Yeah, go ahead.
I think this is hypothetical Series A.
Right.
50%. So I think if he didn't give Tom Shields the 50%, these numbers would be different with the common shares.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. All right. It's hard to come up with solid numbers when we're not really given any. We're given these hypotheticals.
Right, exactly.
All right, so the next section, we have to read the B case, and then as a group vote, should Tom hire Barr? Yes or no? So that's what we'll be looking for as we read this case. Do you guys have it pulled up, the case?
Yeah, I
do.
do.
You have it? All right. Do you guys want to read it individually and then discuss it, or do you want to have one of us read it out loud and then?
That'll take longer. Let's just individually read it.
Sounds good. All right, let me know when you guys are ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Are you ready? Good deal. So I guess it's another vote. So I'll start. I don't think that he should hire him at this point. Herb, you want to go next?
Well, I think he needs to address the issue because he feels that he needs somebody who takes more of a hands-on role in let me see here again. Yeah, right. So both Cosman and Shields agreed that they needed a VP. They just disagreed on whether they should promote an internal candidate or bring somebody in from the outside. So the issue really, and it doesn't address it, is are there good internal candidates for that position, or do they really need a fresh set of eyes to kind of start, not from scratch, but to kind of reset everything and bring him back in line? I would agree with you, Landon. No, do not hire somebody from the outside unless you get everybody's agreement. And it doesn't sound like Cosman is going to agree to it, even though he appreciates what Washington's opinion is. I don't know. It's just, I think I told you guys, we just went through a transition at the local Coca-Cola bottling company. And fortunately for us, the new bottling company very much believes in promoting from within and showing employees loyalty. And in this day and age where everything is so competitive and so what is it called, cutthroat, I don't know. I don't think it's a good decision to hire from outside. I think it's better to bring somebody up from within. If Shields really feels strongly about having somebody that has all this experience bringing startups to success, maybe he can hire a consultant, but not as a. Don't bring him in as an executive.
All right. What do you think, Austin?
I also agree that he shouldn't hire him. I think that some of the strongest evidence against it is that he doesn't really. I'll find the part here. It says, basically, he says that Barr doesn't really know about the products. He doesn't have a good. He doesn't really know about what they're doing there, and he has a hard time grasping it. And so it'd be hard for him to head something that he doesn't fully understand. So I think that he would be a good candidate, despite that he's been in several startups. If you don't know the stuff, then you can't really help out the other people,
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of it comes down to, Shields wants to hire him, Cosman doesn't. And I don't think that it would be good for the company for them to have that big of a disagreement. And I don't think that it would be in Shields' best interest to hire someone that the owner doesn't necessarily want in there, And it might be that all Cosman needs to do is meet with John Barr once to say, okay, maybe he would be a fit. But I think at this point, from what they know, I don't think they should hire him. I think there should be either more options or everyone has to be on board with it before they make that decision. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and as Austin pointed out, Barr really didn't have a complete understanding. The previous bottling company that I worked for, about a year plus ago, year and a half ago, for the large store channel, they hired an area manager that had no bottling, no consumer packaged goods experience. He came from telecommunication. He had been a successful manager at T-Mobile, but he had no idea about what Coca-Cola was doing, what our market strategies were, how we go to market. And the whole large store team was incredibly demotivated and frustrated because, higher ups thought that this guy would make a good fit, but they had to send him to workshops, and even after that, he still would go out with key account execs and salespeople in the field, and he would just have no clue what he was talking about. So in this, still kind of fragile stage, yeah, like Austin said, it's just not a good decision.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter how much
Not
experience.
just for the executives, but for the whole engineering department. I mean, imagine now they have somebody that doesn't understand what they're doing, but he's telling them what they need to do.
Yeah, that goes into the next questions. How will this decision affect company culture and the leadership team? And like you said, people that are in there doing it every day and understand it, have someone come in who has no idea what's going on, but has all these great ideas. And who knows, he may not be willing to listen to those who are more knowledgeable about the subject. So I just feel overall, it's not a good decision for the company, for the product, and for the investors as a whole. I think it would be a mistake to hire him at this point. All right, so next asks us to read the C case. You guys got that one too? This one's really short, I think.
It shouldn't take too much time.
Yeah. All right. You guys good?
Yeah.
So the question is, what does do the right things for the companies mean, or for the company mean? I think what Tom's saying there is that Doug is not contributing much to the company anymore, and who cares that he founded it? Let's do what's best for the product that we have now. He's taking money, and he's not really much of a contributor anymore. He brought the product, and now he doesn't have much value, so get rid of him, which I don't agree with, but
I mean, that's what I meant earlier by cutthroat.
yeah.
And yeah, I wonder what really happens.
Yeah, I don't know.
In reality.
Yeah, so then
Yeah, I
it
don't
says,
know.
does Yieldex need Cosmin anymore? And in reality, I think they do, because he's a smart guy. He initiated it. He came up with the idea. He came up with the algorithms. And I think it'd be a mistake to say that all you needed was the algorithm without the other things that he has to offer. So I think he still adds value to the company, even though they have the product now. I don't think that they would be wise to just get rid of Cosmin.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, despite some problems his team might have been having, I think that he is a key asset to the company. I think, I mean, that's going to definitely be an internal conflict that could really disrupt the whole company if these two people are kind of going at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, in one of my other classes, I think the problem always is when it's your baby and now you invite other people because you need the finances, but at every turn when you ask more people to get financially invested into your company, you give up control over the direction of your company, over the vision of your company. And as we're reading this, it kind of reminded me of Steve Jobs. Although I don't care for Apple products, but that's kind of what happened to him. He eventually was ousted, but that's when Apple kind of lost its vision, and then when they allowed him to come back, he just took Apple to completely new heights, and they're now, if not they're one of the most valuable brands. And I think it's similar here, because Cosmin just gave away control, and now he finds himself at the losing end.
Yeah. I like what you mentioned, that founder is really the one that has the emotional tie to the product. Other people are more about the financial gain that it can bring.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that can cause issues, but like you said with Steve Jobs, he had more of a vision for it, where it could be. So I agree that they should continue to keep Cosmin. They should not fire him. really they should fire Tom. I don't like that guy. But all right, so then it says, do you want to change your minds about the buyout now with this information? So do any of you guys want to change your mind about the buyout decision?
I mean, if he had done what you two suggested, he would have had, he still would have given up control over his company,
Yeah.
because it would have now. So I think it's more of an emotional decision rather than a fact-based money decision. You know, how much is Doug emotionally invested into this company? Does he really feel that it's his baby and that he really wants to see it grow up and start making the world a better place? Or is it, you know, just one of many ideas, and he has another five in his back pocket?
Yeah,
Honestly, I can go either way.
yeah, at this point I think that it could go either way. If he did continue with the Series A funding, I would definitely. What concerns me is that Shields is one. He still got 40% of the equity, and then he just the fact that he was considering hiring someone that the founder didn't like, just because he felt like it was the right decision. It kind of concerns me about uh, Shields' loyalty and what he would do in the future, but I don't know. We don't know what he actually did, so maybe he thought it through.
Yeah, but that's hindsight, right?
Right.
You know, that's it's always easy to make a decision when you have all the facts. So
Yeah, I don't know. I'm torn on what I would do. I don't think I'll necessarily change my mind. What about you, Austin?
I still like, I don't know. I still think he should just have taken the money and put it out, man. I think that's what his wife wanted too. If you
Yeah.
make,
do we have to come to a consensus?
I don't think so.
no, I don't think so.
I think we just have to defend our position. Let's see. Well, yeah, I think we've all brought good insights and defended our positions. It looks like it's it. So, in summary, I guess Austin and I felt that he should sell the company to Turn and accept the offer. You felt that he'd be better off to continue with the Series A funding. And then we agreed on the B case that they should not hire Barr, as well as the C case that they should keep Cosman. So, in reality, I think there's merits to both decisions, and I can understand the reasoning behind both of them. Both of them make a lot of sense, and there is a lot of, I think, as you mentioned, Trey, there's a lot of emotion that gets brought up. I don't know how invested Cosman really is in the product, because he was leaning towards just getting out of it, taking the money and going.
Yeah.
So that could mean that, or as it grows, maybe he would become more attached to it. Who knows? So I mean, it's really hard to say definitively, but I think we've defended our positions well. So I'll go ahead and stop the broadcast now.